He cannot be rewarded. Professor Nwosu, when it mattered most, his courage failed him. And when you give national honors and recognition, you do so for people who have shown courage, who have paid the supreme price, or who were ready to pay that price.
I also confer posthumous honor on Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua, GCFR, and Professor Humphrey Nwosu, CON.
Now that Humphrey Nwosu is gone, you want President Tinubu to name structures after Nwosu? It will not happen.
Was it Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made Justice Saleh from Katangum Emirate from Bauchi to another election? Was it Justice Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made the military cabal to throw Nigeria into confusion? It is highly unfair.
Was the chairman during a military regime. There was no way he would have announced a result with a gun placed on his head.
The chief electoral officer failed to formally announce the figures and declare the winner. The Nigerian people on their own talk about, if you look at the media review, the man who is widely believed to have won the election, because the man who should have announced it failed to do so. Nigerians were really in pain because nobody is able to quote where Professor Nwosu announced the results. It is his failure to announce the result, whether under threat or other whatever forces that prevented him from so doing, that Nigerians were unable to say that he was declared the winner. In fact, I was active in that struggle. When we met with the late General Sani Abacha, he said the reason he decided to order the detention of MKO Abiola was that MKO Abiola proclaimed himself as the winner of the election and therefore as president. It was on that basis Abiola was arrested and he died in detention. If Professor Nwosu had the courage, I emphasize courage as is being suggested here, to announce the winner and damn the consequences. After all, he who is not ready to die for something will end up dying for nothing. We cannot distort history in this Senate. We must be seen to have sentiments that reflect the average feeling of the average Nigerian. Professor Nwosu, when it mattered most, his courage failed him. And when you give national honors and recognition, you do so for people who have shown courage, who have paid the supreme price, or who were ready to pay that price. Lastly, cognizance of the fact that Professor Nwosu laid a landmark foundation, blah, 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 blah. This is the reason it is even more painful that you allegedly have all this courage to conduct elections. I'm on record as saying that Professor Nwosu and President Babangida fooled 18 million Nigerians that voted. Nwosu is not on record before his death as admitting that before I die, let me confess that there was a winner. You have 2 seconds remaining. Therefore, let me write up, Mr. President. I thank you for this, because this is very important. If you couldn't, this is my last point, sir. I appreciate. This is my last point. So I want my in-laws to understand. If he was afraid of the gun, because we're under dictatorship, some people might say, well, but there were Nigerians who were protesting under the gun without minding the consequences. After the end of Babangida's tenure, the death of Abiola, the birth of the new democracy that produced President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Obasanjo. Since then, I would have expected Nwosu to say, either on his birthday or on any special occasion, now that we are back to democracy, there is freedom of speech, even the freedom to lie. I would have expected Nwosu to be able to say, I could not declare these numbers. Now, on my record, Abiola won this election, but I was not able to announce that he died without confession. That he died without confession cannot be rewarded.
Thank you, Senator
He
Osita.
cannot be rewarded.
Senator Osita Ongu, you have the floor.
I represent the people of Kogi State. There is this fact. In whatsoever we do, one day we are going to live here, we are going to leave the world, and we are going to be remembered by what we have done. If you do well, posterity will remember you for good. We are now judging or talking about Humphrey Nwosu. He has finished his course. Now it is left for his creator to judge him. Yes, he was here. He did his best. He conducted an election. He tried his best midway. Everything was truncated. And he was not courageous enough to speak out. There are others after him that also worked in INEC and did a lot of work there. One thing we cannot take away from Humphrey Nwosu is that he tried his best. But we need to be careful. It is the responsibility of the executive to name any structure after anybody. It is also the responsibility of the executive to give national awards to whomsoever they feel is deserving of it. And we know our president now, he was a factor and he was part of those that struggled for the actualization of June 12. He worked hard for it. He worked hard for it. President Obasanjo was there as president for 8 years. He did not name anything after Nwosu. Nothing was mentioned about him. Even Yaradua was there. President Goodluck Jonathan was there. After Goodluck Jonathan, Buhari was there for 8 years. And now that Humphrey Nwosu is gone, you want President Tinubu to name structures after Nwosu. It will not happen. It will not happen. Tinubu will not do that. So we don't need to force him to do anything like that. So let's just limit ourselves with what we can manage here. We rise up, say a 1 minute silence for him, that is over. That is over. Let's not go beyond what we can control. That is what I will say here. Thank you.
Our personal biases, our personal sentiments, and our party affiliations to influence what we are doing here. So far I'm concerned, during the June 12 presidential election, I was a presiding officer. And yes, I just came out from secondary school. I was the presiding officer in that election. That election has been adjudged up to today the freest and fairest election in the history of Nigeria. Mr. President, any Nigerian that googles internet, which election is the freest and fairest election in Nigeria, is the June 12th presidential election. Professor Humphrey Nwosu, a professor of political science from the prestigious University of Nigeria, a civil servant, before he was appointed in 1989, did his best, despite the pressure from Babangida government, despite the court order, Mr. President, allow me, despite the court order by Justice Ibeme that stopped the election, despite all the threats from the military cabal, the man still went ahead to conduct the freest and fairest election. Was it Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made Justice Saleh from Katangum Emirate from Bauchi to annul the election? Was it Justice Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made the military cabal to throw Nigeria into confusion? It is highly unfair. One of my colleagues mentioned about a the honor.
How was the call remaining, my brother?
It's not because he belongs to a particular political party. Let us not distort facts. It's very disappointing that some of us should be distorting facts just because Professor Humphrey Nwosu is an Igbo man.
Thank you very much.
Allow this motion to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Arrest my case.
Thank you. Please, order, please.
I represent Enugu.
And please, 2 minutes so that others will speak. 2 minutes.
Mr. President, I'll be faster. I want to actually remind us that whether we speak for or against, Humphrey Nwosu will be buried tomorrow. I also want to remind us that just recently, the former president, Ibrahim Babangida, held an event lately, which everybody, even several people here attended, including the current president of the country. And everybody came up, because he's alive, to speak good of him. If Humphrey Nwosu was doing a colloquium today, Nigerians will still go the same way they lined up to speak good of IBB. And I also want to remind us that Humphrey Nwosu was the chairman during a military regime. There was no way he would have announced a result with a gun placed on his head. Mr. President, even anybody who wants to be Anthony, who wants to say I'm going to refer to Julius Caesar, French Roman countrymen have come to bury Caesar, not to praise him, which is what Senator Oshiomole can take up. You can just bury the dead if you don't want to praise him, and allow those who want to praise him to praise him. No matter how much we speak here today, it will not remove the fact that some of us see Humphrey Nwosu as a hero and needs to be immortalized. Mr. President, for the respect of the dead and for those who are mourning, who will bury this man tomorrow, I want to move, Mr. President, that we don't further debate this matter. We go to the question, so that we don't continue to open up several things. I so move. Thank you.
Any seconder?